Russell Westbrook, man, he's had one of the most interesting past year and a half, bro. So he gets traded to Houston for Chris Paul, hella picks. At the time, it was thought of as a great idea. Russell Westbrook was like a top 5 point guard in the league. He was just coming off a season where he averaged a triple-double. Yeah, he was very disappointing in the playoffs with OKC. I mean, everybody was disappointing for OKC in that playoffs. You know, they got beat in the first round by the Blazers. And nobody's talking about it. But Melo low-key pulled a KD. He got beat by the Blazers, and then he went and joined them. But obviously, the Blazers ain't no contender or nothing like that. But look, that was a pretty rough part. But when people saw Russ struggle in the playoffs, they didn't really think of it that hard. It's kind of like the Dame too. Like Dame, he'll struggle in the playoffs, and people still don't worry too much about his playoff production, which I don't understand. But look, there were all these analysts saying that they should be a 50 to 60 win team. They should be fighting for the top seed in the West, top 3 at least, and they should be in at the very least the Western Conference Finals. And when I was listening to this, I thought it was pretty viable. I was like, bro, James Harden, the best shooting guard in the league. Russ, top 5, maybe a top 3 point guard when he's in the regular season. So they should be a great regular season team. And they ended up not being that bad. I think they were the 4 seed. And but anyways, so they start that season. And it's pretty weird. They didn't suck. I mean, they still have a positive record, but it was really awkward. Capella and Russ wasn't working, so they had to make a trade. And, they traded for Robert Covington. But up to that point, before they traded for Robert Covington, the Rockets' offensive rating with Russ and Capella was 105.6. With no Capella and just Russ, it was 117. So you can already see that, hey, look, Capella, maybe he'll help us a little bit defensively, but he's holding us back crazy offensively. And then what you would think is the best Rockets starting 5, the best Rockets lineup to either start the game off or close the final 5 minutes of the game, Russ, Harden, Tucker, Eric Gordon, and Capella. And they had an 82 offensive rating and 108 defensive rating. That is a net minus, bro. That shit was terrible. And nobody was talking about this. They're like, look, they'll figure it out. They got 2 superstars type thing. Even though I don't consider Russ a superstar anymore. But it was thought of as the better lineup, and it did not work. But Russ, until that point, he was averaging 27, 8, and 7. Which, if you look over Russ's numbers from the past years, you're like, that's kind of a down year. Yeah, he's averaging a near triple-double. But he was just averaging a triple-double last season. But the biggest problem was this. He was shooting 46, 24, 77. We saw inefficient Russ, but we didn't see him shoot 24% from 3. And it was off a good amount of attempts a game. He was dead ass shot chucking, and that thing was hitting the side of the backboard. It was hitting the rim and then going straight down. Bro, that thing was hitting all net, but it didn't even go inside the net. Bro, he was struggling. Alright, so they make the trade. You know what I mean? They trade Capella. It's a 4-team trade. But 7 games after that trade happened, Russell Westbrook averages 35, 7.5 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Rockets then went from, being what seemed like mediocre team with just 2 superstars to first in win percentage over those games, 3rd in offensive rating, and 4th in point differential. They were on a tear. Russ was balling. Shit, the Rockets were working they were working, bro. This was okay, now it looks like they can contend. And then we all know what stops the season. The virus. So the virus stops the season. But people still think the Rockets are contenders. You saw them over the break. James Harden got skinnier. You saw Russ working out with Kevin Hart or something like that, and he was doing these sand drills, which probably is a normal thing for NBA players to do. But the media, knowing the little that they know about player conditioning, they're like, damn, this guy's trying hard, when it might just be traditional conditioning. So then, they return to the bubble. Russ kind of struggles, but it's fine. They're like, okay, he got a quad injury. He's not playing that well for that reason. But so he went out with the quad injury, and I remember I was watching a game of the Thunder versus the Rockets, and this was the first round of the playoffs. And the Rockets dead ass beat the Thunder by like a good margin. It was like double-digit points without Russ. So I was like, bro, when Russ comes back, the Rockets are gonna be out in 5 or 6. They're gonna blow this team out the water. And Russ comes back, and he averages 18, 7, and 4, which is Russ. He stuffs the stat sheet, bro. I've never seen him stuff this little of a stat sheet, even in the playoffs when he's inefficient. On 42, 24, 53. Like, there were people actually questioning, like, bro, this can't be an injury problem. It's got to be a mentality problem. And I agree that it's probably that. But so it was pushed to the side. It was like, you know, they weren't expected to beat LA anymore when they saw Russ struggling. And they didn't, but they did disappoint against LA. They won the first game. I was like, damn, when they played against LA, yeah, they won the first game, but they disappointed, bro. That you saw people just leaving Russ wide open. And you were like, bro, that's an NBA player you're leaving that wide open. And he just couldn't buy a bucket. And it was bad. I remember it was like he had like a 6 or 8 point game, bro. He was struggling. So people thought, okay, man, he had a quad injury. That's why he's struggling in the bubble. Shit, we'll be fine. Alrighty. And then next offseason, you know, the whole drama stirs up. James Harden requests a trade. Russell Westbrook requests a trade. And people at the time were like, bro, Russ, you have no trade value. Like, what do you expect we're going to get for you? So they traded Russ for another guy with no trade value, John Wall. So he shows up to Washington. People are like, this should be a good system. Like, yes, they don't have much defense, but for Russ to just thrive and put up good numbers, bro, he has a stretch big in Thomas Bryant. He has really good shooting around him. You know, Bradley Beal is a really good off-ball player. And he goes to Washington, and he averages 18, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Which is like, okay. I mean, he's taking off the scoring, but it still looks like he's a great all-around player. But then he shoots 37, 30, 62 on 5 turnovers a game. This Russ I've been watching, like I really never cared less for Westbrook, except for that MVP season. I was happy to see him carry the Thunder. But like, I feel bad for the man. He's really struggling. Like, I've never cared so much for Westbrook, and now I'm really hoping that he comes back to like that 25 point, like 8 rebounds and 8 assists, because I feel like that game is better than his just fucking trying for triple doubles every game. So as we know, last February, Russell Westbrook went off, and for the Wizards to keep Beal and maybe go on a run for the 8 seed, Russell Westbrook got to duplicate that. And you know, it's tough because you don't have that spacing that you did in Houston, even though you still have pretty good spacing. But you're going to have to do something, bro. I mean, he figured it out with Steven Adams, who was no type of spacer, no type of even vertical spacer. Steven Adams doesn't even really catch lobs. So we need to see this new mode of Russ where he's averaging 35, man. He's somewhat efficient. Like, we need to see that from Russ. And, man, I really hope he comes back.